Perfect. Your English is getting much better. Teacher, thank you so much. I understand everything you say. I want you to listen to this podcast for homework, okay? Okay, I'll listen to it. Goodbye. Good. See you tomorrow.
2 hours later.
All right. Let's listen to this podcast.
Welcome to the podcast. Today, we're going to podcast about podcast. Podcast. We are podcasting right now. As you're listening, we are podcasting.
What's going on?
Podcast.
Why don't I understand? What's wrong? Teacher, when you speak, I understand. I get it, but I listened to the podcast and understood nothing. And that's pretty normal. So in today's lesson, we're going to watch a video about how you can improve your listening. Welcome back to Kareem and My English, everyone, the place you go to improve your English. Today's topic is listening, because so many people complain about speaking. They can't speak, they want to get better at speaking. But when they do become better at speaking, they realize, oh my God, I can't understand anything. And in my opinion, that's a bigger problem than not being able to speak correctly. So if you're struggling with listening, then this video is for you. So we're going to identify some reasons why you probably aren't understanding people and solutions to those problems. Did you get that? Was it understandable? Good. Improvements already. One reason why you're probably not understanding what you're listening to could be that you lack the proper vocabulary. Having a good foundation with vocabulary is vital in order for you to understand what is happening. What you're listening to plays an important role. You can't just listen or watch anything and assume you're going to get better. Yes, listening passively does help you improve your listening skills. However, if you're trying to focus and you realize you're not understanding 80–90% of what they're talking about, you shouldn't be listening to it. If you really want to improve your listening, you have to find some type of audio, some video that you can actually understand a lot of. When you're focusing on listening, you need to watch or listen to something that you understand at least maybe 60–70% of. You might ask yourself, why am I listening to something I understand already? Well, chances are you probably don't understand 100% of it, and you shouldn't. The point of being able to understand most of the video, most of the audio you're listening to, is so that you can pick up on new vocabulary. You can identify what the word can possibly mean based on the context it's used in. If you don't understand the word, and you don't understand the context in which it's used, there will be no way for you to learn from context. Learning from context is hard, but it's one of the best ways for you to improve your English in listening, speaking, reading, or writing. So we understand that not having enough vocabulary will obviously hinder our ability to comprehend and understand what people are saying. However, pronunciation can also stop us from understanding what people are talking about. I speak from experience. How many times have you heard a word and it just sounded unknown to you?
Wheel.
But then when you see it in writing, you say, oh my God, of course it's that word.
Wheel.
And you know why? Because the way they said it is different from how you say it. It's so funny that there are so many shared words in languages, but how we pronounce it makes it sound completely foreign to us. Now, I'm not the teacher that's going to tell you you need perfect pronunciation, you have to speak like a native. In fact, I'm quite the opposite. I like to think that your English is your English. If you have an accent, it's awesome. It's sexy. My philosophy is speak your English. Now, you shouldn't speak it poorly. You, of course, do have to be able to pronounce words correctly. But if you have an accent, that is fine. It's not the biggest problem in the world. In fact, it's not a problem at all. A solution to improving your pronunciation as well as your listening skills is simply shadowing a speaker. Shadowing is a technique that language learners use to improve their pronunciation simply by repeating what native speakers say. Listen to your favorite English podcasts, watch your favorite English television show, and repeat what they are saying. The goal is to try to sound exactly like them. Not only is repetition useful for remembering vocabulary, but it also helps your muscles, your ears, and your brain adapt to hearing phrases and vocabulary the way they should be spoken. And if you want to take this a step further, you should definitely try recording yourself. Take out your phone, repeat what they say, and listen to it. Try to see if you are able to sound just like them. Hey, you guys there? Okay. Yeah, sorry about that. It's kind of cold outside. I decided to, come back in. I know it sounds strange, but one reason why you might have trouble listening is that you may not be listening correctly. Correctly? How does one listen correctly? I like to imagine that when you're listening, you just turn on some video and you just try to understand and take in as much as you can. I won't say this is bad, but there are more effective ways to approach listening. And I plan on making a video going into detail about some of these approaches. In this video, we're just going to take a brief look at some of this. Listening just to listen is great for passive learning. However, we want to really concentrate on improving those listening skills. And something I have learned through the years is to simply break down what you're listening to. The first step, don't listen for specific details. The first time you watch something, maybe the second time as well, you just want to understand what is happening in the scene, in the event, whatever's going on. Understanding specific vocabulary, phrases, grammar structures shouldn't be your goal. Look at the context and think about, where is this place? What might they be talking about? Try to understand the gist of the scene, the situation, the conversation. Gist is just the basic idea or the main idea of a topic, subject, video, whatever it is. What I like to do with my students, depending on how long the video or the audio is, watch it twice. The first time is always more challenging. You're just trying to grasp the idea. The second time you listen to it, you tend to pick up on some more concepts and things being said. And once you understand just the general idea of what's happening, that's when we go to our next step. Step number 2 is listening for detail. This is where you want to listen for specific information. You want to listen for names, you want to listen for dates, time, etc. And now that you've understood the main idea, you can now focus on the smaller things. And when it comes to listening for detail, I, again with my students, tend to listen to it 2 times, if necessary. The next step is simply you identifying what you don't know or understand. This could be about grammar structures, this could be expressions, vocabulary. And maybe during your first listening or second, you might have jotted down a couple of words that were new to you. And this is the part where you need to activate your mind. The best part about listening and reading is that you can learn from the context. And I mentioned this not too long ago. The context should help guide you to a meaning. When defining vocabulary, idioms, expressions, things that we're unfamiliar with, look at the words surrounding it. Look at words that it's commonly combined with. See how it's used. Does the word or phrase have a negative connotation? Are there any negative or positive prefixes? What's the main idea of the sentence? And using all the context that you have, you really want to try to deduce the meaning before, jumping to a dictionary or asking Google. And in my opinion, this is where the learning really takes place. You're trying to use all your skills and your knowledge to understand and find a proper meaning to this. Ultimately, if you're unable to define the word in your own way, then of course, ask Google, use a dictionary. But first, try to deduce using context. As you learn and grow in your English journey, you'll come across more complicated texts and audio and conversation. And being able to deduce the meaning from how it's used is a vital skill in language learning. So what'd you think? That was really good, teacher. Good. I learned a lot. He makes really good videos. Be sure to like and subscribe to his channel. Oh, I'm definitely going to like and subscribe. When does he upload? He uploads videos every Friday to help English learners like you. Wow, every Friday. If you want to practice listening through context, you should definitely check out his reels. Awesome. Yeah, he uses lots of natural language and he explains clearly what phrases mean. Is he only on YouTube? You can follow him on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook at Kareem in My English. Okay, I will follow him on all the platforms. Awesome. Teacher, thank you. Is there any homework? So for homework, look at some of his shorts and his reels, and we'll discuss it tomorrow. Great, I look forward to tomorrow's lesson. See you tomorrow. Have a good day, teacher.